Okay, I feel very strongly about this, and I have to start with some context, a story. If you don't want to listen to it, you can skip to later on in the video, right? But really, the reason I was inspired to make this video is because of something that somebody said to me, and I've known the content of this video for quite a few years now, but I really put it in words when this happened. So, a few days ago, right? Because if you've been watching my videos, you know I do MUN. What's MUN? MUN is Model UN. It's a public speaking competition, right? You basically make a bunch of speeches, right? It's very complicated, but you can just assume it's a public speaking, right? And I've done this for quite a few years now, meaning I have a bunch of students under me who try to learn from me. And recently, one of the students walked up to me, and this student was, she was fantastic at public speaking. In fact, I had chaired her, meaning I judged her once, and she won. Okay, so she's a competent person. And what she said to me was, okay, I have been to 5 conferences. And by the way, we don't call them competitions, we call them conferences, right? Meaning she's been to 5 different Model UNs. She says, I've been to 5 conferences, and I've won the first time, right? Because that was when I judged her. But then, I haven't won for the next 4 times. What's going on? I'm very good at public speaking, right? What? And at that point, I kind of snapped. Okay, at the time, I was actually kind of angry, because I personally have been to 30 conferences. And the fact that she was complaining she wasn't winning in the first 5 conferences, when it wasn't winning every time in the first 5 conferences, really infuriated me. I'm going to tell you exactly what I told her now. Okay, and this idea actually came from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Please read that book. It is an amazing book. Okay, and the thing is, there's a lot of different habit books, and if I'm honest, they usually talk about the same thing, but the special thing about Atomic Habits is it somehow makes its concepts memorable. They stick in your mind, right? It's like glue. It sticks to your mind. Honestly, it's something about writing, and I don't know what it is, but some writers are able to have concepts stick, and that's what really matters. I'd rather have like a concept that's okay. Okay, I'd rather have a concept that's okay but sticks to your mind than one that's brilliant, but then I just forget it. Because even the okay one, you're going to actually implement, right? So that's why it makes it better. In any case, Atomic Habits. So, this is what I told her. I said, 5 conferences? Seriously? I've been to 30 conferences, and you're complaining at 5 conferences. Here is improvement curve for everything. Okay, and I described this graph to her. This represents time, and this represents skill level. At first, I applied this only to MUN and public speaking, but eventually what you'll realize is this applies to everything in life. Okay. And I say, this is how you expect to improve. Now, if you haven't gone to science class and whatnot, you know this is, directly proportional. It's straight line, linear. Linear is the key point here. It's linear. You think, I'm gonna improve slowly, day by day, just like this. But that's wrong. That's not how you improve. The improvement looks more like this. Now, you might notice here that eventually, right, it crosses a point. But before this point, okay, before this intersection point, everything else before, you're doing worse than you expect. Right? And what James Clear calls this is the valley of disappointment. This is what I told her as well. You are currently in the valley of disappointment. Because it's not linear. It's exponential. Right? If we do a little math here, okay, this might bore you guys, but I think this is interesting. If we do a little math here, 2 to the power of 0 equals 1. 2 to the power of 1 equals 2. 2 to the power of 2 equals 4. 2 to the power of 3 equals 8. 2 to the power of 4 equals to, what is that? 16. You can see that the gaps between each of the powers is getting bigger. Between 4 and 2, what is it? 4 minus 2 is only 2. Now between 4 and 8, what's that? 8 minus 4 is 4. And then it gets bigger and bigger, the difference. It's exponential. You start out slow, but you get quicker. Okay? You have to think long term with improvement in anything. It's always long term. And this applied to me as well. Okay, for Model UN, for example, I've been to 30 conferences. I won, like her, my first, number 1, we call it Best Delegate Award, my first conference. But that was just beginner's luck. That was hard beginner's luck. And I told her the same. The reason you won the first time is because of beginner's luck. Everybody else sucked in your cohort. Okay? When you're getting into the big boy arenas, that's when things get tough. Right? And I myself, I was a slow grower. I didn't win until my 10th conference. But now, I pretty much win every time, even in the most advanced committees. Now I sound really arrogant, but I'm just saying facts. Like, what's true for me. I'm not good at other stuff, but I'm pretty good at this particular competition. So yeah, I told her, you're in the valley of disappointment, okay? And don't take this as me insulting you or, saying you're bad, demotivating you. No, this should be motivating. Because that means that you are growing exponentially. Would you rather be growing linearly or exponentially? Okay, sure. For the first, month or even year, you're gonna suck more than you realize. But then afterwards, you're gonna destroy everybody. Okay? If you're a long-term thinker, somebody who genuinely wants to get better at something in the long term and get better at it than anybody else, or in other words, achieve mastery, you gotta think this way, not this way. And I can't tell you how many people get trapped in the valley. Everybody gets trapped in the valley, no matter what they do. What makes the difference between a great artist we know, like Picasso, and an artist that we just don't know? Picasso wasn't demotivated in the valley of disappointment. I'm sure Picasso was very smart, a prodigy, but at the beginning, he probably thought he would advance faster because he's a prodigy. And he was in the valley of disappointment, but eventually he reached a point where he reached legendary status because he stuck with it. And that's what I tell everybody with improvement. Stick with it. If you stick with it, doesn't matter what you do, you're eventually going to succeed. Now granted, there's an element of luck, but the point is, if you stick with it, your chart to improvement might look like some stock market. But the thing with the stock market, particularly if you look at index funds, might do an investment video later on, but if you look at index funds and the whole market, like a whole country's market as a whole, it's going to look like this over the years. But ultimately, if you look long term, what does it look like? It looks like this. These are just blips in an upward trend. And that's where your improvement is going. So, if you have to remember one thing from this video, stick with it, is what I'm saying. Because you're most likely in the valley of disappointment. No matter what it is that, you feel demotivated. The reason you feel demotivated, good point here, additional point. The reason you feel demotivated is not because you're progressing objectively slowly, but that you're progressing slower than you think you should. It's like, if in a game, right, you get 1 coin per day, okay? And your friends get only 0.5 coins a day. Even if some obscure pro out there, or or even the whole industry average is supposed to be you're getting 10 coins per day. The fact that your friends are doing worse than you means, oh yeah, okay, I may be progressing like objectively slowly, but not slower than I think I should because my friends are doing worse. And on the other hand, if you're producing 10 coins per day, but everybody else around you is producing 100 coins, well, yeah, you're going to be demotivated. So, I cannot reiterate this enough. Stick with it, whatever you're doing. And eventually, you'll exit the valley, and as you can see here, this pretty much goes up forever. So, stick with it.